Doesn't everyone have a right to eat whatever they want? Why should someone else tell me what to eat?
I mean, I think we just have been answering this over and over again because it should be clear by now that it's not a case where someone is just doing something that's affecting themselves. It's affecting others, both animals, which we've been going through, because they're treating them as objects, and really they're a who and not a what to eat. They're a who that you're eating, and also we've been talking about all the ways that other humans are affected, and the numbers, and it's not even insignificant. The numbers are in the millions every year already, and just going to go up if we keep going down this road. So everybody should be speaking about it. The question should be the reverse of what you asked.
And it's funny because I remember talking to people in this country and saying, talking about eating cows, like, I love eating roast beef. And I'd say, well, would you eat a dog? Would you eat dog meat? And they go, no, I could never do that. I'm not that kind of person. I wouldn't eat a dog. But I remember when I was a Zen Buddhist monk in Korea, and I talked to people about eating a cow. They were like, no, I'm not a brutal I would never eat a cow. Oh, but dog soup, that's delicious. I love dog soup. They thought it was really good and really healthy, especially for the males. So, again, it's a cultural program. It's just a cultural program that tells us what we can eat and not eat, basically.
And I would say that I don't think anybody likes to have an ideology shoved down their throat. No one likes to be told what to do. No one likes to feel controlled and coerced and pushed into a box of any kind. And so I am very much about respect for freedom of choice. I think what we have to look at is the nuances of that, because of course, if you choose to eat an animal, you're robbing that animal of choice to not be eaten or to not live in those conditions. And you're also potentially robbing other humans of the choice to be able to eat, because in a finite world with resource consumption overshoot and deforestation and growing levels of food insecurity, which are being, by the way, precipitated by events in Europe right now, we have a reality where it's becoming a moral imperative, I think, to eat lower on the food chain, to reduce our footprint so we can free up land and agricultural resources to feed humanity. All of that said, I respect freedom of choice, and I want to help people make wise choices and healthy choices that make them feel good, that give them energy and vitality and fight chronic illness and help them lose weight and help them be a part of the solution on planet Earth. So that's where I come from. I'm not interested in dogma and force feeding anybody. Oh, everyone needs to eat this way or that way. No, I'm interested in knowledge and empowerment and wisdom so we can make conscious and wise choices instead of being in a culturally induced trance that pulls us into a toxic disease system that ends up with us dying too young and living too miserable and contributing to misery for so many others.
People say, don't tell me what to eat, like they don't want anyone to tell them what to eat. And yet, if you look deeply, the only reason people eat what they're eating is because they're eating what they've been told to eat. Like from the time they're little infants, that's the only reason anyone eats animal foods, is because they're just following orders that they got when they were little kids, and they're just eating what they were told to eat. That's really what's happened, basically.
So from all your years of experience and wisdom, what does and doesn't work in communicating with people who eat differently than you, such as a vegan trying to speak with a person who eats animal products?
I'll start. For this one, I've been now having these conversations for over 30 years. And I've kind of run the gamut of approaches. so I've kind of seen a lot of different ways to do this and reactions and all of that. And I think that ultimately, especially with one-on-one, especially—
Hope lost her.
Oh.
No, I still hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm still here?
Yes.
Okay, so I think especially one-on-one, especially online, especially when you're having conversations, that we have to have empathy, for where someone's coming from, respect for that person, nonviolent communication, and to listen listen to what their concerns are, listen to what they have to say. And I often will wait and kind of get a feeling for the person before I start spewing all of my, what I want to say. And what are their concerns? Are they concerned about the environment? Then maybe that's the good angle to go. You're online and you see they have a picture with their dog. Well, then maybe you talk about companion animals and how important they are in our lives, and how farmed animals are just like our companion animals, things like that. You find connections, you find ways to get in where something that they're concerned about or that they care about. So I think that's a great way to approach it. And I would also add that online, it's the wild, wild west. We have now gotten to this point where we have lost all decorum and kindness, and we speak to each other like we would never speak to each other face to face. And we should be very careful of that, very aware of that. When you're typing something, a comment, a post, read it and think, would I actually say this to someone, or am I being personally attacking and angry? So backing up, being kind in our communication, I think, is so important, especially online.
Yeah, I also think they're in terms of what information you're conveying, there's so many ways, as Hope just said, of coming at it. And that's why I don't think anybody should feel like they have to do one certain way and not others. And I think there's no one size fits all, other than maybe, a few extreme approaches that we should stay away from. I think approach, from the things that other people around you are passionate about, what you're passionate about, and things that you are expert in. Obviously, some people on the panel wrote a book about health, and that's important for a lot of people. Other people come at it from a more of a spiritual point of view, and that's important for people. And in my case, I wanted to cover logic, because I didn't think that was enough said in our movement, because it was all about kindness, and a lot of people don't respond to that. They want logical, rational. I see myself that way, and they want to be approached in that way. So that's kind of why I felt like there was still a need for my book. So I don't think it's a one size fits all, and just find your way.
Well, what are Ag-gag bills, and is this still a current issue?
Yeah, so these are laws that actually make it illegal to take pictures of farms, and they're in, I think, 12 states currently. And they weren't designed to keep you from photographing broccoli. They were designed to keep people from exposing what's going on in factory farms. There was a National Geographic photographer who had traveled the world photographing food systems, and he'd been in North Korea, he'd been in Libya, he'd been in Iran, but the place he got arrested was Kansas, because he was flying a helicopter over a feedlot, taking pictures. And they arrested him under the Ag-gag laws in that state, because it was illegal to take those pictures. See what was happening and how the animals were being treated. And organizations like Mercy for Animals have sent people who've literally taken jobs in these systems so that they can get undercover photographs, so they can show the world what's actually happening, because the packages show, smiling animals and happy animals and beautiful pastures, and it's a lie. And the reason this is important, I think, is that because people care. This proves that people care. The fact that they have to hide it shows that people care. The fact that they tell people a lie it shows that people care, that people want to think that the animals came from loving, compassionate systems. They'd like to think that, the farmers were reading the chicken bedtime stories, but that didn't happen like that. And so when we actually see, we're revolted and we say no to being a part of this system. And so the Ag-gag laws have been designed to try to stop that from getting exposed. And it's not in every state, but it's been in 12 states. And yes, it's still there. And yes, we need to do something about it.
Yeah, it really does discourage people finding out, because it's really, you face potential criminal charges for breaking these laws. And so it just puts a whole damper on people it's even not allowed to take photographs from a public highway, for example. You're not allowed, according to these laws. And it's but very well said, Ocean. That's exactly it. It's just a hiding what's happening from people. And of course, the problem, of course, is that most people who are eating animal foods, actually, they don't want to know either. So that's why these laws get passed. I mean, partly it's because the representatives that, they get passed, people don't protest because they really don't want to know either.
Just to make sure this doesn't get skipped over, we've talked about chickens and fish and a lot of things. What about Thanksgiving turkeys? It's only once a year. Is this, I'm not, what's going on in the turkey industry? Is this any different than the chicken industry? What do we need to know?
I'll take that one. So a lot of what we said about the chicken industry applies to turkeys as well. Very similar situations, but there are some things that are unique to turkey farming that are especially egregious, I would say. And one of those is called detowing. So we know about debeaking, where they slice off with a hot blade a portion of a chicken's beak. Well, they do that to turkeys as well, but they also detow them, where they will cut off one or two of the first digits of their toes. And the reason that they do that is because when a turkey feels threatened, when a turkey feels stressed out, scared, they use their talons to defend themselves, rightfully so. And workers can get hurt, other turkeys get hurt. But this is no problem on a farm sanctuary. If you go to a farmed animal sanctuary and you meet turkeys where they have plenty of room, where they are treated kindly, where they're loved, they're not going to be using their talons to defend themselves. This only happens in these horrible situations where they're stressed, where they're confined, where they're treated poorly. But to counter this problem, when they're just babies, when they're first into this world, they cut off, sometimes with just clippers, just crude implements, to cut off a portion of their toes. This can cause lifelong pain. It can make it hard for them to walk. They can have trouble getting to food, water, and they grow so huge now. They're genetically bred to grow so big and their breasts so huge that they have a really hard time getting to walking around. They'll have arthritis, they'll have leg deformities, issues with respiratory and heart disease in their first few months of life. And they're slaughtered at very young ages before their first birthday. So this is really, really just a horrible situation for them. Also, too, what Will was talking about earlier with the domination of the feminine, turkeys have grown so big that they cannot breed naturally. They can't mate naturally. So they have to separate the males and females. And they are what they call milking the males, getting the sperm, masturbating them, basically, excuse the crude words, but what do you say? I mean, it's horrible. Taking the sperm from these males and then inserting it into the females. And the way they do that is they have to flip her upside down, confine her, hold her. Sometimes they're held between workers' legs, and it's inserted. I mean, it's such a violation of these birds' bodies. Absolutely horrible that they have to be artificially bred this way. So, turkey farming it's brutal. It's horrible. These poor birds suffer, and all the things that I just mentioned still apply to free range turkeys that you often see. That's the label that they use mostly is free range. And that I met turkeys that had been rescued from a free range farm that had just stumps for their little feet because they had been detowed, and their their little paws or their little feet were so deformed from the detowing. So it's absolutely brutal for these poor turkeys.